Well, weeks of protests have forced Bulgaria's center-right government to resign. Demonstrations began over planned tax increases, but escalated into mass anti-corruption rallies. The timing of the administration's collapse is awkward. Bulgaria is the European Union's poorest country. It is due to join the Eurozone on January 1st.
In Bulgaria's parliament on Thursday, politicians had been gathering for the vote of no confidence in the government, tabled by an opposition party. But just minutes before the vote was due to take place, Prime Minister Cholakov made a surprise address to the nation.
As we have stated, we hear the voices of the citizens protesting against the government, and we hear them clearly. We must rise to meet their expectations, and their message is unequivocal. They demand the government's resignation.
In recent weeks, tens of thousands took to the streets across Bulgaria. The rallies initially began to protest against the government's draft budget that would have raised taxes. But the demonstrations quickly broadened to target the government, with protesters accusing them of widespread corruption. Cholakov's administration has been in power for less than a year. The resignation plunges Bulgaria into more political uncertainty. The country now faces its 8th election in just 5 years.
I spoke with Petar Cholakov. He's an associate professor of political sociology at Bulgarian Academy of Sciences in Sofia. I asked him for his reaction to the resignation of the government.
To be completely honest with you, I think everyone is surprised because everything has moved really quickly. The protests began just a couple of weeks ago, but they have gained a huge momentum, and now the government has resigned. So I have to say that Borisov and his leading party, GERB remains first in the polls. So it's very fresh sociological data from this morning that did elections, but before the government announced its resignation, so it's going to have to affect, of course, on the public opinion. But GERB is still leading the polls, so I think they have still a lot of cards in their hand, and not everything is lost for them.
Could you walk us through what has led to these mass protests that have ultimately pressured the government to step down?
Yes, the opposition has started criticizing the draft budgetary plan that was prepared by the government. Just to remind our audience that Bulgaria is going to join the Eurozone on January 1st, 2026. So the budget is exceptionally important for our country. So the opposition started the protests against the government on the basis of this draft budgetary plan. However, the protests have really gained a lot of momentum. A lot of people have flooded the streets, especially young people, particularly from the Gen Z. There has been a lot of talk about that here in Sofia, in the whole country. Very young people who have experienced travel a lot in the EU, in the United States. They have seen how democracy works, and they're definitely not satisfied with the way Bulgarian institutions work. They're not satisfied with the high level of corruption. Bulgaria remains one of the most corrupt countries, unfortunately, in the EU. So the protests have actually shifted very quickly, and their demand was now resignation, and the government resigned. Just to state that according to the... Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Professor, I mean, listening to you and knowing how the situation is across the European Union right now, how do you think that this is going to impact Bulgaria's relations with the EU and particularly entering the Eurozone? Because there's a lot of worry within the Eurozone of adding another country to the group, especially a country that is known for not being the best anti-corruption candidate.
Right. I mean, it's a fair question, but it's a fair point, of course. So first, from the purely economic point of view, I have to say that Bulgarian economy is doing actually relatively well. We have an unemployment rate of approximately 3.5%. We have basically the highest amount of money savings in savings accounts in the country in maybe the last 30 years, more than 50 billion euro. So from economic point of view, we're doing well. We're not going to ask this, basically what I'm saying, we're not going to demand Europe's money. hopefully in the near future, we're not going to become hopefully another Greece as it were a decade ago. The other point that I wanted to stress is that based on the amendments, the last amendments of Bulgarian constitution, GERB, the ruling party that just resigned today, is very much going to keep the reins of power, because now what's going to happen is this particular parliament, the 51st parliament, is probably not going to be able to elect a new regular government. So a caretaker government is going to be formed. And the people who are going to lead this government, there is a short list based on the changes, amendments of the constitution, of course, not by name, but by the people who lead particular key institutions, and the president have to choose one of them. Now, I just have to say very briefly that all of these people basically are people who are elected by GERB. So, for example, the speaker of the Bulgarian National Assembly is on this list. She is a member of this political party. The chair of the Court of Auditors, Dimitar Glavchi, he used to be a caretaker prime minister. He's not a member of GERB, but his whole political career is very strongly associated and connected to GERB. Okay. So GERB are going to keep the reins of power. They're very much pro-EU. They have been supportive for the membership of Bulgaria in the Eurozone. So I don't think they're going to jeopardize this membership in any case or any shape or form.
Well, we will definitely be watching, especially as January 1st approaches. Professor Cholakov, we appreciate your time and your insights tonight. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.